Welcome back. So if you're subscribed to my channel, you know I've got two builds going on at once right now. My 1974 Honda CT70 and my late 90s Z50J Honda Monkey build. Both of these bikes are in a pretty similar state in the build. Both of them, I haven't rid them yet, but I do have both of the engines running. So at this point of the build, like I've mentioned in previous videos, is my favorite part because now it's getting everything perfect, getting that first ride, then finishing up both bikes and modifying them to be exactly the way that I want them. I'm still waiting on a lot of parts, particularly for the Z50J model because that wasn't originally sold in the United States. So I'm having to reach out to a lot of other vendors in other countries to get the parts that I need to finish that build up. But there are a lot of parts that I need for both bikes that are available here in the United States. And T-Bolt USA graciously reached out and offered to partially sponsor both of these builds. So in this video, I thought I'd cover for both bikes the parts that they supplied, go through the installation process, and I'll also include all of the information for the parts in the description below. So again, thank you very much T-Bolt USA for working with me on these two builds, and I also look forward to working on future builds. Let's dig into the CT70 bike first. So I've actually used T-Bolt USA for I think every mini bike that I've done in my garage so far. One thing that I've consistently used is their gas tank setup, just because it's pretty comprehensive and ends up being a lot less expensive than trying to hunt down all of the different parts. This gas tank kit comes with the gas tank itself, the gas cap, the rubber grommet that keeps it from vibrating inside the frame, as well as the top clamp, which has the grommet inside of that as well. So this is designed to fit in, I think, K1 through the most recent bikes, but I've been able to fit it into a KO bike before. It's a bit of a tight fit, and they even mentioned that on their website, but I've done it. So know that you can do it, again, just a bit tight because there isn't as much of a space in the back of the frame to jam it in, but it is possible. This being the K3 though, should fit pretty easily. It has both main and reserve fuel lines so that those fit perfectly into the carburetor so that you don't need to use a separate petcock. And if your carburetor only has one fuel inlet, it does come with a separate petcock that allows you to switch between reserve and primary fuel lines. It also comes with the rubber pads that hold this part of the tank against the frame. T-Bolt USA also sent me their full 20mm carburetor system. This is going to be particularly useful once I put on the big bore kit. I haven't selected the exact big bore kit that I'm going to run on this bike yet, but I'll definitely need the 20mm carburetor when I do. So I'm not sure if I'm going to install this yet. I think I'm still going to get that first ride in and run it on all the stock setup before I start upgrading. But this will go on the bike shortly after I get those first few rides in. Before I throw in the tank though, they also provided the foot switch. So I'm going to get this installed before I put it in the tank because it's a little harder to get access to once the tank's in place. I also have my new wiring harness that I'm going to run through the bike before we get the tank in, because once the tank's in place, it's almost impossible to get this where it needs to go. The OEM Honda key ignition systems are still readily available, so for most of these builds, especially if I'm using a stock motor, I go ahead and just order a brand new one. So on this tank, the front is the main and the back is the reserve, so make sure that you note both of your hoses correctly before you hook them up to your carburetor. I don't have the seat yet, but I do have the OEM bracket so that I can finish up this part of the install. Alright, so pretty happy with the progress now on the CT70 bike. Let me pull this off the lift and pull on the Z50JS. Okay, I've got the monkey on the lift and two things to install in this. An exhaust and a Kickstarter. Both two things that didn't come with the bike that I bought. And I got some pretty trick ones to try out on this bike today. So this Kickstarter from TRC looks very similar to the one that I have on the CT190 bike. It's slightly different, it's not the exact same part, but this should just be a matter of slipping it onto the starter shaft and bolting it down. Alright, that looks pretty cool. And then this is the Z50 Performance exhaust. And this is a super clean looking piece. It actually has a similar look as the can that I have on the 2019 Monkey. But it mounts up right around here and looks fantastic. So I'm going to get this bolted up with supplied hardware and then check it out. Alright, so I'm really happy with the way that exhaust looks. That actually came out better than I thought that it would. And the Kickstarter is also pretty cool. I like how they're both parallel facing opposite directions. It's a really good look for this bike. So thanks again to TBolt USA for sponsoring all the work we did on these two bikes today. Thanks to all of you for watching. Stay tuned for more videos and keep on building.